guys, it's Lindsay. Thanks for stopping by. I had a lot of interest for these kind of videos, so I thought I'd jump right on it and start them up since we have some St. Patrick's Day crafts already completed. These are really easy crafts. We do a lot of process art here, but I like to try to turn them into a nice product still for the parents, because those are the ones that obviously they like, but the experience is, you know, the important stuff for the kids. So I'll start off, the first one we did here was these little strips of rainbow. As you guys know, St. Patrick's Day and rainbows go pretty well. So I just have these little strips on cardstock. I just took a regular old piece of cardstock paper, cut it into fourths, but I thought the fourths ended up being this size, but they were a little bit too big. Having 6 of those stacked would have gotten a little bit too long, and I think the kids would have probably lost interest painting them. I typically find that the smaller the paper for the littler ones, the better. My whole group is right around that 1-year-old point, so the quicker they can paint it, the better. So I ended up cutting it across this way as well, and that's how I got my strips. So you need 6 of those per rainbow to obviously cover the colors in the rainbow. So after I cut those down, I taped 3 onto their high chair trays. Now you can do the same thing to their table spot, but we still have high chair trays for each of the kids here. So I taped down these 3 first, and I just put a little drop or 2 of paint straight from the jar right on their paper for them, and then they just finger painted it basically. They did a little bit of mixing the colors, which was encouraged because it is more of a process art kind of thing, so it's kind of fun for them to see the colors mixing and everything. So then after that, then we took the trays off and cleaned them up, and then replaced them with these strips taped onto their tray, and I did the same thing, 1 or 2 drops on the paper and just let them have at it. Now with younger kids, you might want to, you know, encourage them to paint by putting their hand in it and like slapping the paper. And mine, when they get a little stubborn and they don't want to paint, then I'll tell them, get the paint, get it, and they get really excited about that. So something that you might want to be sure to do is to tape the strips on when they aren't paying attention, because I have found that if kids know that they come off the tray, they will pull them off the tray. But my kids didn't really mess with them too much because I did it while they were playing, got it all prepared. So here's another one I have right on hand here. A little variation. You can see how the different kids do it differently. So after that, I let them dry, and because they had so much paint on them, some of them like rolled up a little bit, and I personally didn't really like that, so I just hot glued a popsicle stick onto the back here, and I just did it diagonally across all of them. It's still very lightweight, and we have a million popsicle sticks on hand, so that worked out really nicely. If you don't want to do that part, you could probably, after it dries, just set it underneath a heavy book, and that would probably flatten it out as well. Next, I used hot glue to attach this like twine string, and I got that from the Dollar Tree in a pack of 3, I believe, so very, very cheap materials. After the fact, I realized I should have just taken 1 big long string and just glued each strip onto the 1 string attached, looped it around and went back down this side, but I chose a little bit more of a struggle path, and I cut about 2 or 3 inch pieces and then glued them on. It worked fine, and it might not have taken that much more time, but might be a little bit easier just to do 1 piece, but that's totally your call. This little piece is just easy for it to hang, obviously. And then I do have these little pot of golds that I recently made, and I'm thinking about attaching those with string on the bottom. So it looks like a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's totally up to you. Let me know what you like better. If you like the simplistic rainbow like this, or if you like it with a pot of gold at the bottom to get that little bit more of a St. Patrick's Day feel. So I think that covers that craft pretty much. So then the next thing that we did was we just took a piece of cardstock, your regular size again. I cut it in half, used a half for each child, and I put different shades of green and a little bit of yellow onto their page, just squirted on in little glops. And I also had this taped on their high chair ahead of time, so they just went at it and finger painted, and we talked about like tapping the paper like this and twirling our finger in it, and I tried to pretend to do it with them, so I was swirling my hand and rubbing it side to side, so they really thought that was very funny and that they tried to mimic it as well. So then after that you get something kind of like this or like this, and we just call it a field of clovers because in a way that's kind of what they look like, just a bunch of green. It's pretty fun. Again, this is another one of those process arts where it's really just the experience and sensory for them to be going through it, talking about the colors and talking about St. Patrick's Day while they do it. And then at the end, then you just add that little bit of wording just to make it seem like something, you know, more than just finger paint. So now it's a field of clovers. That works out really well, and as you can see, different kids do different things. This one is my own daughter's, that's why her name's already on it. This one I left off. But I chose orange for the color because Irish, you know, green and orange and white. So that is what I did with that. And same thing for this one. I am going to stick this under some heavy books for a little bit before I hang it up and see if that helps flatten it out a little bit. So. Alright guys, well I really hope that this gave you guys some ideas to start out with. I plan to get some more going, but since there was such a good interest tonight and I had a little time, I thought I would just go ahead and start one up. So, alright guys, I will look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.